Let Lita take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Take your life out of the status quo. Status Life with Lita is brought to you by Status Home Design and the shops at Status, and by the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Status Life with Lita on Business RadioX. We are broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio in the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. Lita has over 20 years working as an interior designer. She's now a full-fledged lifestyle expert, podcaster, and blogger. Status Life with Lita will take you on a journey of faith, life, travel, and interior design. Lita's mission is to bring you her knowledge and fun teaching ability to help each of us design a life we love. My name is Derek Hayes. I'm the host of the show, and it's my pleasure to introduce the star of the show, Miss Lita Brooks. Good afternoon, Lita.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are we doing?
We're good.
Well, good. Tell me about everything in the world of Status these
Oh, my
days.
goodness. So I feel like my go-to answer for that is, everybody asks me this, how are you? Right? That's just one of those pleasantries. And I'm good, but I'm busy. I'm good, but I'm busy. Is that a negative? Like almost feel like I should change my verbiage a little bit, but that's truly my honest answer.
Well,
I'm good, but I'm busy.
Since we are doing life together, yes, you're always busy.
I'm always busy, but
always busy.
I know.
But that kind of is both of us. And with you, Status has so many things going on all the time, which is great. It's terrific. It's a blessing.
You trying to make this about you?
No.
Just kidding. Okay, no. So all about Status. Right. We have multiple businesses that fall under my Status envelope. We are here taping this podcast, which is Status Life with Lita. We talk about everything under the sun, lifestyle. We can talk about design trends. I've talked about home staging. I've talked about how to find your style. That's a little bit more career-based. We're currently doing a series about blending a family that has turned into a series because I thought this was going to be one show, right? Relevant
exactly.
But we can't. There's so much information, and that's wonderful. We've got questions from listeners today and just a ton of information. Health, fitness, weight loss. We've done all that. I mean, it's wonderful. So I'm very excited. This is one of probably the most exciting part of my Status endeavors. But I have a 60 vendor mall outside of Atlanta, and that's called the Shops at Status. I recently opened my own home decor furniture store called Status Home Design, and we have an online marketplace called the Status Market and Design. So that has been on pause just for a couple of months. The actual physical house of the market was under construction and renovation, so we are getting ready to give that a brand new facelift and relaunch the online market here in the next week or so.
Well, speaking of business, you got rocking and rolling there with that answer. That was great.
But it just flows out. That's all that we're doing.
But I got to do a little business here. Before we begin today's show, a quick reminder that Status Life with Lita is brought to you by Status Home Design, your one-stop shop for all your home and gift needs, the Status Market, your online shopping experience, and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Injured in Georgia? Make the right call to the law office of Derek M. Hayes at 404-777-HURT.
I have one more.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Did I leave it out?
Might open another store.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
Yes, I know. I have found a location. So what would this be? Location number 3? Because 2 of my locations are side by side. So yes. I sort of feel like that's one location all wrapped up, even though it's 2 separate business models, 2 separate stores, 2 separate suites in a shopping plaza. But I have found another store in a whole nother county in another city. And so we may, I take a second look at it tomorrow morning, but we may open up another Status Home Design.
I'm not going to give away anything, but I will say it's an absolutely incredible
I love
home.
It. I know.
A home that's perfect for this business.
But you're saying home, and that's
a house.
Not sort of. Yes. It is very, very old, built in the 1800s, has been completely renovated, but it's large. I don't love when I go into businesses and they are these teeny tiny little houses. Like, have you ever been in a hair salon? Maybe not you, Derek, but Tiffany's here with us today. But, have you ever felt like that when you go into a space and it doesn't really feel like the space should feel like? Maybe it's
cramped.
Yes. Yeah, it's an insurance office or something, and it's in an old house that they just happen to turn commercial. Mm-hmm. I don't love that. I remember when I was a kid, my dermatology office was in an old home, and it didn't feel right.
My
But
doctor was in an old home when I was a kid. I do remember that now.
Yes.
It's coming
well,
back.
we both were in Snellville
Yep,
together.
that's right.
We discovered that, so it's probably the same one.
I bet.
But this is totally different. This truly has that old historic feel. It's large. It's close to 4,000 square feet. There has been a shop in it beforehand, so it's really when I think of Status and my sort of what I love to do with Status as a brand, my own personal style is taking old things and making them new again. That's really what this is all about, right? What's the status? And that's what this feels like. It's taking an old home that's been remodeled and it's beautiful and doing the same things with the furnishings inside.
Oh, the house is incredible.
So we'll see.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Stay
and it's a
with
perfect
us
location too. So
yes,
we'll talk more about that later.
If we launch it. And here's my hesitation. And I'm going to say this because I do speak to a lot of entrepreneurs out there and I've got a lot on my plate. I can't even do all the businesses on my Instagram page. It just says Status Company CEO because there's so many. And now I'm about to launch another one. But you asked me, Derek, we were weighing out the pros and cons. That is my biggest con is adding a whole nother store. Like this is not, I don't take this lightly. I mean, we're coming into summer. I have children. I already have 2 businesses. I just launched a store and we've got to relaunch the market. I mean, I have all these other things that I'm doing.
You and I just moved into a home in December, or well, technically
we're not
January,
even unpacked,
and we're not completely unpacked.
There's nothing
exactly.
unpacked. I mean, so adding a whole nother venture to my plate, that's a lot. And I almost would rather wait till fall, but the space is available.
Well, the opportunity now is
it's now.
ideal.
It's now or never.
Yeah.
So I either take it and we're about to get busy again.
And not to go
10,
too far in it, but there's also the pandemic curveball with the ability to get merchandise.
I know. We just had this. I know Tiffany's dying inside right now. So we just found out, this is hot off the press. If you didn't know, this is not a positive. So let's just bring Tiffany into the show. Let's just do her introduction so everybody knows who we're talking to here.
Tiffany Savage. There's a round of applause in the studio here, a standing ovation, a wave. There we go.
There it is. There you bring it in.
That was called a subtle hint, and he finally picked up on it. Tiffany Savage is with us again today.
So Tiffany did our last show. This is part 3. So welcome back to the show. Tiffany is here. And Tiffany comes, again, because the topic we're going to talk about is very relevant. She speaks to the topic of blending. Unfortunately, having gone through a divorce, now, find yourself as a single mom with your daughter. So we're here to talk about on topic, but Tiffany works at Status. So Tiffany is one of my inside sales reps for Status Home Design, but is also going to be stepping into the role of relaunching the Status Market in Design. So she wears many hats at Status for me.
I do, and I love every second of it.
Thank you.
I do.
Thank you. We love
it's
having
so rewarding.
you aboard.
I love it.
All right, so y'all teased this hot off the press, this bit of news.
This is not good news. Don't even. Okay, so yesterday you texted me, and she was working with someone who had come in the store, a customer, and the customer picked out a ton of furniture, right?
Yes.
I'll let you finish it.
It took about 4 hours. It was a 4-hour just design consult. Sitting there, picking their brain because they want mid-century modern, but they like farmhouse, and we've got to marry them together. So we finally found something that the mother-in-law loved, that the daughter-in-law loved, and the son, he was all about it. I'm like, oh, Jack.
Well, he's in an awkward position. He had to agree with everybody.
He did, and he came back with, oh my goodness, I love it. I'm like, hot dog, we've got it. So I email the sales rep. Should I say the name?
We have to.
We have to.
It's not
Here
a
it is.
secret.
It was through Stanley Furniture.
Okay, so hold on, Derek. If I say Stanley Furniture, does anything come to mind? Like, do you know that brand?
I do know the brand only because I've been with you to High Point, and I've also been with you
Stanley's at High Point.
To the Mart here in Atlanta.
Mike's nodding behind your head, my producer Mike. What are you not? You know Stanley, Mike, as a furniture brand?
No, I know him as a tool manufacturer.
Nope, not the tools.
Not
that is different.
Yeah.
Stanley Furniture, in the world of design and furniture, they've been here forever. I mean, this is one of the staples in the furniture industry. What I think when I think of Stanley is traditional look, solid furniture made in the USA, just a real super solid USA furniture.
On
Almost
par
a
with
go-to.
Ashley,
Bassett.
No, higher in than
Higher.
Ashley.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But American
in quality,
based.
American
Gotcha.
made. Yes, just a real. I don't know. I just think of Stanley Furniture as just this really nice quality. When people hear that name, it's like they know they're getting a really well built, well made piece of furniture.
Right. So I emailed the sales rep for Stanley. I need pricing. Can you get it to me ASAP? They're ready. They're willing. They're able. Right. I wake up this morning to an email, and all it said was Stanley is out of business and has been since March 31st,
and has not told us. My interior design manager at the firm, Jane, has Stanley on order that she has.
So
since
they're
October.
pending orders.
Oh,
that
they
will-
will-
that
they
will
will
never
not
be
get
finished.
And they
They will
responded,
not
if
be
you
fit.
have anything on order, forget it.
wow.
Didn't even tell us. No notice, no nothing. Just close the doors.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's awful.
done.
I know. So now I've got to go back and see if there's money there. Because normally,
Well, sure.
if an order goes in, so does a check.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that just fell in our laps this morning. But it's very deflating. I mean, again, Tiffany just
Absolutely.
spent 4 hours picking out Stanley
Right.
furniture. Jane's got an order.
And customers
for a
were
client.
expecting this, and now
customers
it's
are
not gonna
expecting.
happen.
And I get it. I mean, I own my own businesses. I understand that this kind of stuff happens. It's just deflating, and it's Stanley. I mean,
I
this
know.
is like a
This is a big
I
one.
hate it. This is a biggie. So
Mm-hmm.
in the interior design world, we took a little blow this morning
Right.
finding
So
that out.
Make
So.
sure you check your orders if you have any out there, because
I know.
Well, I was not going down that path.
I know.
but
We
I
just
was just
found
asking
out,
about
so-
the other orders that I know with the pandemic. There's been a shortage of things. There have been
Or
things that
the
are on back
delay.
order, a substantial delay. The Chinese tariffs, not to get in that, but
Yeah,
there were
extra, I know.
tariffs with us in China that have prevented a lot of merchandise that used to flow very quickly from there. It's not coming.
It's different. We were pricing things. What day? Just this week, Monday, we sat there
Yeah.
and we were pricing furniture. Both of us had laptops and we're doing, and we were, running it through our matrix. And I went, what? I don't understand. Why is this so expensive? And it was the tariffs.
Yeah,
Like
it's all
we
the
have to
tariffs.
add this percent just for nothing, just
Yeah.
because we can't get it. It's like, and that trickles down, right? I can't eat China's tariff out of my profit.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. But, clients don't want to either. So I don't know.
That's one way to put it. But
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
with that being said, let's transition to today's.
Let's
get
do
to
today's show. So if you're listening for the do's and don'ts of blending, you just got a whole interior design lesson. You never know what you're going to get with Status Life with
a
Lita.
business lecture, whatever else you want to throw in
I'll
that.
throw it all in the pot.
All right, so today we're doing part 3 of the do's and don'ts of blending a family.
Yes.
So before we do part 3, do you want to go back and recap a couple of things or some of the things from the last couple
Yeah,
of shows?
I think we should. Let's go ahead and set up today's show with where we left off from the last show. So if you're just catching this one, we're going to give you all brand new tips today. So go back and listen to part 2, and then you can go back and listen to part 1. Part 1 was what to do, and I'm not going to recap all that because I did that in part 2. So part 2, we started on the don'ts, and let me just preface all this. This is heavy. Like this is even writing this, and we're digging into these stories, and I'm doing my homework and talking to a lot of people. Like, what was your experience? What was your experience? This is not a lighthearted subject, right? This is hard. I mean, these are painful memories for people, and so we're trying to give everyone the tools. If you're going through this, if you're going to go through this, if you have been through this, again, take these as true do's and don'ts. But with that being said, let's go through the top of the list, and this is what we covered in the last show. The don'ts of blending a family. Don't talk negatively of the other parent or their partner. And I know that's real easy to do. We dug deep into some examples and some different things. So again, go back and listen to part 2. Don't push the kids to like the other person. It is their choice. Just because you like someone does not mean that
And
they
when you
have
say the
to.
other person, you're talking about somebody in a relationship with their mom. Or
Yes, that's
with
what I'm
dad,
referring
right.
to. Absolutely. And you know what? It could also go to the stepkids. They may truly like the person, but that person probably comes with children. And that in some of the research I did this week, I was just talking to someone through my store, and they said that was a real challenge because they're watching Friends. They're not divorced, but Friends are. And all the new, I don't know if they're married, but all the new step siblings don't get along because they're older and they're teenagers. And that's harder to blend. than necessarily when they're little. So that
Creates
can
an
be
interesting dynamic.
a real challenge. Yes. Don't ignore the kids' emotions. It's their life too. So if you're seeing them act out or become withdrawn, or, what do they say? Negative attention is the same as positive attention. So if you're starting to see any kind of attention, like, pay attention to your kids. Do not think this is going to be easy. Even in the best of scenarios, let's say you had a great divorce, even if that's a thing, I'm not certain if that can be. I'm saying cordial.
A great post-divorce relationship.
There
is a
you
good
go,
way to
Derek.
put it.
The attorney at the table's got better lingo.
Purportedly.
I was just thinking personally about my situation, having a very cordial divorce, still being connected to my ex. His name is Brian, and we're still very good friends. It's still not easy, right? It still has its challenges. Tiffany, you're in that situation with your ex, Jason.
Yes.
Very cordial. You guys get along great. You do great co-parenting, but I don't
takes
think
work.
you would use the word easy.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
I mean, there's constant conversations and working through obstacles together, but it is work.
It is work, absolutely. The last one, and this is where we left off, don't push your feelings about your spouse's partner on your child. So this is saying they have gone into a new relationship and you don't like that person. You cannot project that onto your kids. They have to have their own relationship with your spouse's partner. So it's really almost becomes sort of a hands-off situation. And, and I think in the last show we talked about some where I would want to jump in and protect. And I mean, I know the examples that we gave. I remember the one that's come into mind of someone who was saying, but they are really putting my daughter through the ringer, and she has a hard time when she's at the stepmom's house and the dad. And I feel like I can't say anything. That just has to be, even though she's going down like a sinking ship over there. But where I would want to jump in and protect my daughter and say something, she's really trying to be hands off, which is probably the correct way. So
Very organic.
Well, and Tiffany's on the show, too, with a different perspective than just you and I. You and I have the perspective of parents that have gone through a divorce. But hers
we
was,
don't have the perspective of parents that went through a divorce.
No, we are parents that have gone through divorce. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
I'm sorry. I'm saying two different things.
We are parents who
yes.
have gone through a divorce.
But our parents
Right.
are
And
not
that's what I was
divorced.
going to say. Is
Okay.
Tiffany's perspective was a child. Parents went through a divorce as well as a parent now who's going through a divorce.
Right. She has both perspectives, which is interesting, because we even in prepping for the show and sort of going through some of the questions, I went, well, wait a minute. I don't know how that feels.
That's it. I can never truly know how my kids feel.
Right.
Absolutely have no concept of what it feels like.
Well, let's dig into the first don't of today's show.
Well, why don't you take that one?
Okay. So the first one that we want to talk about, the holidays are very impactful, right? We all know that. Ugh, this one's hard. This one's hard as a divorcee. Even if things are settled and you've been divorced a long time, kids always want to be with their whole family at the same time. That is just inherent, I think, for any child. So going back and forth is hard, even in the best circumstances. So the don't really is, don't ignore that. Don't, try as best you can to try to have the holiday together, right? The do would be just do acknowledge that is truly what your kids want, even if they're not articulating that. Having everyone in one room, sharing a meal, you think of Christmas morning or Thanksgiving. For my kids, they even want Halloween. They're younger. They want dad there. They want him to see their costumes and taking the pictures. And it would be very easy to leave him out and just want that for myself. So the don't is do not exclude the other parent if
Magic of the holidays, right? That Christmas, but kids, man,
It's always there.
It's always there. So that's when you put yourself on the back burner and try to still keep that magic alive for the child, even if that means having your ex come over for, opening Christmas or opening presents on Christmas Day, or, offering a plane on Thanksgiving, or even like Jason and I, when we we'll get on the golf cart and we take her trick-or-treating, right? Because that's special for her.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
So as your parents divorced, were you young? How old were you?
I was 10.
I knew we mentioned it last show, but I couldn't remember. So did you have to do Christmas morning with one parent and then the other parent, or did they ever try and put it together?
No.
Because he moved, right?
Yes.
No, she moved.
I moved.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and your mom moved. That's right.
Yes. So it was typically one holiday with one parent, and then there'd be, for instance, I'd have Thanksgiving with one parent. Christmas would be divided, which has impacted me to this day because I hated it. That was one thing.
Imagine.
And we were talking about this before the show, having to pick out one thing that you got for Christmas, and that was going to go on the road with you. Everything else had to stay at mom's house or dad's house. And nope, not happening. So we'll do Christmas together, and anyone who wants to see my daughter, you're coming to the house, because we're going to continue to make this such a special time for her. But I absolutely hated it. But then, because I also longed, and I felt with my parents, knowing that one parent wanted to see me, one parent had to leave me, and I'm still wanting to be with both. It was very sad.
That's hard. It's supposed to be the happiest time of the year.
It
and
is.
as a child. And you're getting pulled in different directions.
Right.
So I definitely think, and I didn't go through that. My parents are still married to this day. We just celebrated 50 years. So again, every holiday was under the same roof. And I can't imagine, but I hear that, and it makes me always want to do it different for my kids.
Right.
Again, I think I've been really blessed, but yours was not. That was not your situation, Derek. Your divorce was
contentious.
More, yes, but especially with the kids, things were not ever done really in a blended.
There were very few times over the course of many years where we had a Christmas morning together, a Thanksgiving meal together, but it was extremely rare. It was not the norm. And it was difficult because sometimes the plan would be made for her to come join my kids and me, because my kids were with me all the time, and something would happen a day or two before the Christmas morning get together or the Thanksgiving meal, and you just were angry about whatever the situation may have been. But like we said, you kind of had to suck it up because mom's coming, and you had to put on a happy face for the benefit of the kids, and kind of struggle through the day sometimes. And it was difficult, I know, for me, but I'm sure for them it was happy to have both there. But they still felt like they were probably on pins and needles, knowing full well that there was anger and frustration, and venom is a good word to use as well. So, it's tough to put myself in their shoes. I can't. Right. I will never know what they were feeling. There's no way.
I think it's really important just going through that situation as a kid, right? And then working through that with Jason, my ex. There was a relationship between he and I before Collins was there. That's what made Collins, right? And so you kind of, or at least that's what I've done, is think about that and be like, you know what? At one point we were cool. Right. Let's keep it like
we
that.
We liked each other a little bit.
We really liked each other, At
least a little.
Right. So we made it through that. There's no reason why we can't make it through a holiday and it be happy, right?
Sure. So. Absolutely. All right. Well, Lita, you took that one. Tiffany, I'm going to let you take the next one on our list.
Okay. Don't discount your ex's feelings, because it's hard for both the kids and the parents. I think that's so incredibly important. And that's one thing Jason and I must say, are great at, because we'll even do a drive-by during the week if Collins is with me. And I know that Jason's been at home for a couple days, and I know he longs to see her. Shoot, we'll hop in the car and surprise him over there so he can spend a couple days. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, come on now. I just moved out of a neighborhood for 2.5 years, and Jason and I were 9 houses down from one another. Right. Okay, so I could hear her say, "Good night, Mommy," if she yelled it outside.
Right.
Just because we have that kind of relationship. I know. I miss that. We both do, because we could see her. She could see both of her parents every day. So now, and this is another good point, I feel like you must be intentional right?
Yeah,
Just for the kids' sake.
Yes, that's a great word. Great way to say it. Absolutely.
And so, and Jason will do the same. If they're over, if he's playing cornhole at Tannery Row down the street and Collins is with him, they'll pop on by. Now she wants to see the puppy, I think, a little bit more than her mommy. But that's okay. I'm fine with it.
But it's a puppy.
But it's a puppy.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Yes.
just real cute. So, but yes, being intentional to be there and understand the ex's feelings too, and the kids, because Collins loves it if she can just pop by and see the other parent.
I think talking about the ex's feelings, I'm going to use an example of, all right, so think about the ex, and sometimes this is really difficult. Like, let's talk about a situation, it's not my personal one, but let's talk about a situation where the divorce is not amicable. There's an affair involved, or there's fighting. I mean, there is a lot of people who get divorced for a lot of reasons that I don't sit in that pocket. So let's talk about a real hostile divorce, and that's when the other parents or the ex's feelings, it's going to be more challenging to think about them because you're mad at them, right? There's going to be a lot more hostility.
Oh, yeah. I use the word venom.
Venom is a good one.
There's serious venom.
You still think about that in, let's say, I'll talk about Disney, something that would be a really magical time in a kid's life, right? So we're going to take the kids and we're going to go to Disney World or anywhere that's a real special thing, or maybe it's their first car, or it's something that one parent really gets to do and the other one is completely left out. Maybe it's on their own accord, maybe it's not, but that still hurts them, right? It's on some level, because that parent is hurt and left out and not there, that is going to hurt the kids. So we're saying be protective of the parents, but because on some level the kids know, they feel guilty, they feel upset. So just the intention, just really trying to be intentional about, of course, if you go to Disney, you're going to want to blast it all over social media, but being intentional and knowing that the other parent's going to see it. Even if you don't like the other parent, or, just, it's going to hurt.
Well, I can also speak to the fact too, that the kids in that situation many times start feeling bad for the parent that's not involved in that trip, or not involved in that special memory. So it's their, I don't know, sometimes it's their move, and they'll call the mom or the dad that's not there, and Snapchat, or not Snapchat, what do you call it? A FaceTime. Thank you, FaceTime, so that they can say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm having fun. Wish you were here." So it'd be tough on that parent that's not there to have that FaceTime call, but it's also the kid reaching out and longing for a connection with a parent that's not there.
Absolutely.
So that kind of goes both ways there.
Yep.
Well, I'll do the next one.
All right, what you got?
I'd say make sure you have their back. They're first. And when I say their back, I mean the kids. They are first in this. If your new partner doesn't respect that, well, maybe they're not the right person for you. You have to realize that the kids were there first, and they are that important to the person you're now blending with.
I don't think it's a maybe. I think if they don't understand that and they don't respect that, there's no other way.
Yeah.
You're done.
The kids have been with you, and they're going to still be with you, and they will always be with you.
It doesn't matter what age they are. I think if they're grown kids, or there's issues, or especially with little kids, they take so much time and attention from either parent. If you're just in a relationship, or let's say you're divorced and you're dating, and as a female you're seeing all these guys that want to date you, but they don't show any interest in your kids, then they're probably not going to be great stepdad material.
Well, I actually have a physical reminder of that on my body. So I got the and sign on my wedding finger, and that stands for Tiffany and Collins.
Oh,
because if it ever happens where I was going to get married again, that person marries me and Collins, no ifs, ands, or buts, and they're going to know it from the jump. And I get so many questions. What's the and sign for?
Yeah.
Well, me and Collins, because we're a team, and if you don't want to be a part of this team, that's on you.
That's a great way to put
that
it.
is. I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I didn't know if you necessarily like showing tattoos at work, so I keep it covered up with my ring. But yeah, so I try to be respectful at work too. But yeah, so you can't.
She will be writing you up when you
I
get
know.
back.
I'm going to say, dang it.
We do
Body
have a
art
dress
is not
code.
allowed.
I know. Yes.
Well, I will speak to our blending, and I think it's great that your daughter she's 9. Do we say the name?
No.
Sure. No, we don't say that. Okay. So she refers to me as her BFF. And has for a long time.
I know. You have a great relationship with her. I don't know why we can't say her name. I guess we can. I don't know. Well, whatever. But yeah, no, she does. She absolutely adores you. It's really cute. She couldn't wait to show. She got new shoes yesterday. She's growing like a weed, and she just wanted to show Derek her new shoes. And you were in the shower, and I'm like, no, you can't go.
Right.
No. And so, but my point was, she was like dancing around the kitchen, like, come on. And then you came out just, hey, good morning, saying goodbye to everybody, and were reading something, and she was just still like, pay attention, and I was like, Derek, whatever you're doing, put it down and look at these shoes. She just wants to show you. So that's a really cute little
shoe
blend.
Day is a big day.
Yeah, it is. And yes, when you're 9, shoe day is a huge day.
When you're 40, shoe day is a
that
big day.
That is true. I know. So no, definitely that is. She wants to be first. She wants to be first with him, with me. It's really important. So that's definitely a good one. Make sure you have their back. Make sure that whoever you bring into your life has their back, because they're going to know it. They're going to feel it. And if they don't feel it, then they're instantly, you're putting up a wall, and you're putting up something painful for them.
Well, you don't want them to feel less important to their mom or their dad that you're dating. In our situation, I'm dating you, and we're now together and living together. I don't want them to feel like, to you, they're now less important because you and I are together.
Right.
And that's a
big thing.
Sometimes it's tough for people, but I think ours has been a great situation. I think we've blended very well from that standpoint. All right, we got time for one more, and then I've got a question from a listener. So you do the next one.
A listener question. Okay, so the next one was... This is tough, and you're going to give this one to me, and I'm the one that put this on the list, but it's don't show them, and that would be your children, don't show them stress, okay? So if you're going through a really tough situation, you're going through the divorce, keep the stress at bay, because all that's going to do is make them stressed. And I am not great at this. I wear any emotion on my sleeve, so when I'm happy, everything is great, and mom's this big, fun personality, but... I don't think I necessarily carry work stress home, but I would carry personal stress. And so I have to take my own advice on this and give everyone listening, you just want to try to get through things with grace. Find somebody else to vent to. Find somebody, whether it's you go the therapy route, which I recommend. You go a pastor, a family member, someone you love, someone you trust, friends, girlfriends, guy friends, just really try to not put that on your children. That is not their place. If you're going through the divorce, or even if you're through the divorce and it's a different situation, you don't like, which we've already covered, the person's new spouse, or financial times are hard. There's a million things that you're going to go through. Just try to not put it on the children, because they will feel it. Right. I said the first or second episode, I truly don't feel like they're as resilient. Right. There's this blanket statement. People, kids are so resilient. I'm sorry. They're not. They're not. They will feel all of this, and they will carry it. We're sitting here talking in studio before the show. Amanda's here. Producer Mike's back here. Every single one of us have something with divorce. And it has stayed with us our entire lives, right? And so it never goes away. And so that's my 2 cents on do not show them stress. Anyone else want to add to that?
Extreme stress for mom or dad in front of the kids can lead to stress, like you said, for them. That can also lead to anxiety and even more severe depression and those kind of things that will kind of stem from wearing too many emotions on the inside. And as a child, not knowing necessarily how to deal with it. And that's difficult.
You use the word, Tiffany, magical. And I like that. And I like being intentional. We'll use that one too, about keeping that magic for them, right? They're going to have enough stress. Kids are growing up earlier now with all the social media. There are not kids as long, even as we were. And Derek's older than all of us, as long as he was.
No, wait. Mike, I think. Is there somebody in here that's older than me?
I was going to say, Mike's over there with a smile on his face, so I think he lost that one too.
Maybe he has me beat.
I tease him. I can tease. I'm a young pup compared to him.
Well, wisdom comes with age. Okay, so
there you go.
There is that.
Okay. All right, do our listener question.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get to that too. We do have a question that came in from a listener, and I'm going to kind of preface this with what she wrote. It says, I've been following the series regarding divorce and the do's and don'ts of blending a family. My husband and I are divorced. He is the one that left, but I am being blamed for by our kids rather, for the divorce. So the husband left. The kids are with mom, but yet the kids are blaming mom for the divorce. So she writes, how do I handle this? And then the final part is, my kids range in age from 5 to 10 years old. She says they are very angry with me and acting out more frequently. That's tough.
I know. And thank you for listening, and thank you for writing in a question. And let me just do a little sidebar before we dive in. If you are listening and you have a question, hang to the end of the show, because we'll give everyone the how to submit. All right, Tiffany, you want to take the top of this one?
Sure. I think it's very. She's definitely, I think, shielding. Right. That was the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And I 100% get that, because as the age range, you should have appropriate conversations per the child's age, and we touched on that the last show. Between 5 and 10, you know what? They're kids, so they don't get that answer yet. Dad's not here. I understand that you must be feeling sad or angry, and it's okay. I'm here. And if you want to get mad at mom, if you want to be upset with me, I get it. It's fine.
I would jump into an empathy role and get down to their level of, I understand. I'm sad he's not here too. Right? I'm not going to wallow in it, but I definitely would make the connection. Yes. I know you're hurting because I'm hurting too. So we're going to get through this together. And just acknowledging their pain and letting them know that you're feeling it. I am not a therapist. This is how I would handle the situation as a divorcee.
Well, none of us are therapists, but
Right.
we've had real world experience.
That's right. I'm speaking from
and
experience.
there's a ton of knowledge gained from that. Absolutely.
But I think that might it's not going to shield the acting out where their pain is directed towards their dad. Right. But if the blame is falling on mom, and she is right to shield, I'm with you on that, Tiffany. I don't think that 5 to 10. If she had said 5 to 15, we may split the answer and say, I think you need to take that, and we can talk about this. We need to take that 15-year-old, because there is a point where these conversations need to happen.
And at that age, potentially, they start understanding
Right.
real-world issues. And I can say my kids were 4 and 7. So they were not quite that 5 to 10-year-old age, but they're right there at it, 4 and 7 years old. And I can't explain affairs. Mom was gone. I can't explain, not on my part, but I can't explain what that meant to a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old, and why mom's no longer there, and why other issues led to the kids being with me full time. I can't explain that to kids that age. And it was very difficult, absolutely extremely difficult, because I would shield and kind of what she's written. There were times where I felt the kids were acting out almost as if they blamed me because mom was no longer there, even though mom had made her own choices and was living a life as a result of those very bad choices that had been made.
But there's only so much you can tell a young child
Right.
that they
Right.
even
Right.
deserve to know. They don't need to know, right, the nitty gritty. That will come. But that also comes with having a kid. You have to keep that separate.
Fine line that you
there's
walk.
a fine
Exactly.
line. However much you may want to be like, your dad's a slime ball, you can't do that.
No.
Right?
No,
because
you
that's
can't.
still their dad.
Right.
And you need to pivot.
And I'll also say this. There are times, too, where you don't have to say anything.
No, you don't.
Because they can see and perceive very clearly the problems that come with a bad mom or a bad dad that's no longer in the picture.
So let's take this a step further. Again, we could talk forever because we're getting close to being out of time. But I want to talk going a little bit further from this question. So she gave us the ages of 5 and 10, and I hope we gave her some really great advice. I'd love for her to do a follow-up on this and tell us what she thinks about the answer. But let's go to the older, right? Because we're saying that there is an age where we think some of these conversations should happen. I feel really strongly about this, and this really stems from our situation, Derek, because your kids are older. We're 10 years apart. We're split. And what I saw when I came into the picture was they had this overwhelming longing, but they were told nothing, even as young adults. And so they had so much that they didn't understand that I really pushed you to start having some very real conversations. And I think that's very relevant. And thankfully you have, for the sake of healing, for the sake of them not understanding. It got to a point where I think they were ready to hear some things.
Yeah, and it's not something anybody wants to ever hear about their mom.
No.
Or their dad.
No,
whatever
not at
the
all.
case may be.
No, and it wasn't for that purpose.
No,
it wasn't to slander, but it was to give them the understanding, because I think there was a lot of blame,
Right, as opposed to an appreciation to sacrifices that had been made.
Right.
So that when one takes the bad route and sees consequences as a result of that, the other has to stay on the straight and narrow to provide food, clothing, shelter, and a warm family environment for the kids that the other one seems to have just completely eliminated from their responsibility or their priorities.
One last thing I want to say on this, and this is specific to your daughter. If in any situation, this is my advice, no matter how old they are, I don't think you should have this conversation without asking the child or young adult if they want it. Does that make sense? Like just and here's where this stems from. So because of the longing, I was able to have a conversation with your daughter just a week ago, and she still has a lot of misconceptions. There's still just a lot there that you have to unpack as dad. This is not my role, but we worked together and some things had come up. And I said, honey, there's a lot you don't understand. And if you want to know, you should talk to your dad. And she basically put earmuffs on, and she was shaking her. She said, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So it was they need to be invited, right? She's in her 20s and doesn't want to know. And that's okay. And we respect that boundary, and that was end of conversation. So my point is that was really interesting perspective, where I said, you know what? You don't understand. And if you want to, giving her the path to take, and she doesn't want to take it. And that's okay. That's her right.
And I also think that talking to the ex about this conversation about the kids, I mean, that would be how I would approach it. Be like, all right, Jason, like Collins is asking questions, so I'm going to give you the opportunity. Right.
Well, that's great for a healthy divorce.
Well, if not, I'm going to be like, look, you better tell her. If not, I'm about to.
Right. But then there's the unhealthy, venomous divorce where, whether there's truth or not in anything that's said by one side or the other, they're going to tell the story they want to tell and put the other parent in the worst light possible, just for the sake of pumping themselves up.
And that's when you have to give your kid. That's
I'm
when
on
you
a pedestal looking down at you, even though I may have been the one that made the mistakes, or I did this, or I did that.
They're not taking ownership in that.
That's the way. Yeah, exactly.
But I think that will all come out in the wash, and that's when you have to look at your parenting and be like, okay, I did what I did.
I did what I could do.
I did what I could do.
See who you were with, and
exactly
why you're here, and all that comes with it as well. There's so much more we could talk about.
I know, always. I mean, we could do more series, and you know what? If the questions flood in, we will. I think. I do think we need to come off the topic, but it doesn't mean we can't revisit. It doesn't mean that there's not enough here. This is a lifestyle podcast, and I appreciate the questions. We didn't even get to all of them. I do have more, but again, we can circle back. And so what I would say is just send them to me. We will keep everything and keep listening and wait for the next on maybe, we've talked about divorce a lot because that's what blending is. Your chances are you're blending because you've been divorced. I mean, over 50%.
I think it's an important time too with the whole coronavirus thing. There's a lot of divorces that's been happening.
Too much time spent with each other.
Too much time spent, right? So this is pretty
It's either going one way or the other.
Good job, Lita.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Having said, we've talked a lot now in response to this question, but I'm going to I'm going to reread the specific question. And if you want to sum up an answer and maybe a sentence or two to address exactly what she said. they are very angry with me and acting out more frequently. How do I handle this? I mean, I think we've given good answers,
Well,
but do you want to give
I-
a concise, just a one or
My
two
concise
sentence?
was still be empathetic, right?
That's good,
just
yes.
just if you're empathetic, you're getting on their level, you're showing them that you're hurting just the same as they are. Okay? Not sympathetic where you really get into the depths and you act out with them. Empathetic is I acknowledge you, I hear you, I'm hurting too, I know your pain, and I think that's really going to pivot the pain away from it being directed at you, right? It can still be there. There's other tools, right? Maybe some children's therapy or a church group, or I mean, there's a lot of things that are healthy outlets for children that are acting out that maybe she should look into. But just in the home, on the everyday situation, really having that conversation of, I get it. Sometimes that's just what they want to hear. I get it and I feel it.
That's terrific. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Oh, well, thank
Great
you.
answer.
That was
Okay.
a great answer.
Yeah, I'm impressed now.
Man.
Well, before we close, I want you to tell everybody again how to find you and submit the questions and follow the podcast and follow the blog. And
Absolutely.
Follow the
Yes.
Instagram
Go to your
and-
podcast app. We love ratings and 5-star ratings. If you're listening to this and you're following, thank you. Thank you. Little plug there, right? Status Life with Lita on any of your favorite podcast apps. I am on Facebook, Status Life with Lita, and Instagram, Status Life with Lita. So I have a website, which is Status Life with Lita. You can find me there, right? And it's Leta, even though here in the South, a lot of them like to say Lita.
Lita.
It is not.
That'd be
It's
me.
not Lita.
There's
it's
an R in there.
Lita.
Lita.
No, I know. That's what Derek says. It's ridiculous. Anyways, so all the podcast apps. But let's talk about the online store, statusmarketanddesign.com. Phenomenal merchandise, all handpicked. Everything on there is our style, is the status style, is a lot of it is old, that has been not refurbished, but I love like the old corbels
Oh, my
and I mean, all
gosh.
just really cool stuff. And then we pair it with some modern botanicals and just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Follow Status Market and Design. If you go to Facebook or Instagram, we are getting ready to bring back the live sales. You
Oh,
will
I'm
see
excited.
Tiffany and I
Oh, really?
live and on
Yeah.
camera.
Am I going to be doing camera work again?
No, maybe.
I've been fired.
Maybe.
Wait a minute.
We'll have our
Maybe.
people call your people.
Yeah,
Derek, okay.
we'll see. No,
Let me down softly.
No, because
Just-
we just have some
Cutthroat.
ideas.
I love it.
I
You
know.
know, we're
No, you
thinking,
will not be there.
We're thinking about instead of nighttime lives, about doing lunchtime lives.
Yes.
So
Okay. All
yes,
right. Well, that
and
makes
that's the
sense.
reason.
Okay.
Derek is a very, very busy attorney here in Atlanta, and getting him at lunchtime is not feasible.
But I do need to
Lunch
train the
with
replacement.
Lita.
Okay.
That was
lunch with.
Oh my
Lita.
goodness. Hello, light
Hello,
bulb. Oh,
see?
yeah.
Amanda's over there. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we have lots of good ideas. Possibly a new store, Status Life with Lita, and the Status Market and Design. But we have the retail stores too, and it's a big mouthful. So if you Google Status, everything comes up. So go that route.
That's great. That's
Tiffany,
terrific.
thanks for being
Yes.
here.
Oh,
We
I
That's what I was
really
gonna say.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait till next time.
That's right.
Well, it's great to have you again.
Wink.
And I'm sure we will have you
Wink.
back
I
in
know,
studio.
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining us on Status Life with Lita, presented by Status Home Design, the Status Market, and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Don't forget that you can enjoy any of our episodes anytime by visiting businessradiox.com, selecting the Gwinnett Studio, and then clicking on Status Life with Lita. This program is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast. Until next time, for Lita Brooks and Tiffany Savage, I'm Derek Hayes, and you've been listening to Status Life with Lita on Business Radio X.